Oh my gosh, this is so exciting. Jeffrey, I love that we've already done a couple of episodes on this Eris Chiron conjunction that has been taking place. We've had the first one back in May. We really looked at that in a deep way. We'll put the link to that video in the show notes for people who might have missed it or want to go back and revisit it. And then I think we did another one on just sort of the general overall picture. And now we're going to focus on the second one that's happening on October 8th of 2025, coming up quick from the time we're recording this.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And
And it's,
and
go ahead.
there's been so much, so much amazing things going on and in our world and the this but the Eris Chiron aspects of it as part of it are really significant in giving us a way forward through the what many of us most of us perhaps are experiencing as a very chaotic world right now. And a lot of things going on. So yeah, it's great.
I love
It's great to
the
be
Greek.
back with you, Cayelin, and
Yes.
chat
Oh,
about
always,
this.
always good. Yes. And I love that the Greeks said out of chaos comes order. And so, or comes a new world. And so that's the opportunity that we have before us, though the chaos can feel very unsettling and uncomfortable till we get
Right.
to that place because we need to let go of the old so the new can come in. So anyway, so Eris and Chiron are helping us heal the wounds of chaos, and that exact conjunction's coming up quick. So we thought we did this in one of the last videos where we looked at Chiron and Eris from 1900 to 2050 and the times they come together and make their conjunctions. And so Chiron and was conjunct in Pisces three times in 1917, twice in 1917, and once in 1918 at the late degrees of Pisces, where Saturn happens to be hanging out. I think Neptune doesn't come back as far as 27, but I know that Saturn does. I'm pretty sure Saturn's coming back
Yeah.
to 27. So it's interesting that that's being activated, something from way back then. And then in 1971 and 1972, we had it in Aries, kind of the mid degrees of Aries. And then and we'll see this in the when we look at the USA chart, but square the sun, the USA sun, pretty close square to the USA sun back then. And then we're going to have the last exact conjunction on March 19th of 2026, having already had the first one on May 26th and then the one coming up on October 8th. So is there anything you want to say about that?
Well, I guess the thing that I would like to add is actually kind of going back to our intro. We're going to look at the astrology, but the notion that we're all experiencing a certain amount of chaos and experiencing maybe our own wounding within that process. And there's a number of astrological archetypes that we could be looking at. But in this case, we're looking at these two as being significant and how to navigate that. So in our talk today, just so that people know that towards the end, there'll be a little bit of a meditation or, some prompts of like, how do we navigate? How do we move with this energy? Because that's the part that's unsettling when she says, we, all of the things that we've, but maybe a lot of the things that we've counted on in our established order, uh, are being pulled into a chaotic state. And as you said earlier, the promise is to bring forth a new world. And how can the Chiron energies lead us through that? So we're going to get to that as well as this detail on what's happening astrologically. And so, yeah, I just wanted to add that and that the remarkable synchronicities that are going on with all of these different things that are happening astrologically, and these in particular, which is pretty exciting. We're going to get to that. So, okay.
Yeah, and it's right on time. I mean, look at the chaos in the world and everything that's happening, and Eris is all about chaos and discord, and upsetting the old so something new can come in. And Chiron is about healing and that process so they can work together to do this. And it just seems so perfect right now. And interestingly, it takes 50 years for Chiron to come back to a starting place. And so Chiron will not return to Aries until 2068. It went into Aries in 2018, I believe. So that's 50 years.
Yeah.
So, this stuff works. But then Eris will be in Taurus and does not get back to Aries for like 500 years. I mean, it's got a 550-year orbit or something. Yeah.
Yeah, so the idea is emphasizing these new beginnings. That's one of the important things is that, the in that in the energy of Aries, there's a lot of things that we could focus on, but one of them is that it is the beginning of the zodiac. So we're, at a time when these energies are coming together to really help propel us into a whole new paradigm, a whole new way of, a whole new age. And, we have to engage with it as best we can, not be thrown off by the chaos. And that's where
Try to
this
hide
energy
from
helps.
it.
What's that?
Right? Or hide from it, like try to hide
Right,
from it. It's
hide
like,
from it. Yes, right. Yeah, there's a lot of that. I think I'll look at my phone a little longer and avoid this.
but to me, I'm just like in this place of astonishment or being astounded by the fact that we live in a time when twice in our lifetime, Chiron has been conjunct Eris and Aries. Wow.
Nice. Yes.
Wow. And that it feels like it couldn't be more timely. Like this is what we've been waiting for,
And,
is
and I,
to
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut
Okay.
you off, but
That's
I
okay.
think that might be a comforting note too to people that, well, we're living through this at this time, but to understand that this is it's on a huge scale. It's some of this is on the scale that's way beyond us in our own individual human experience. Now it's true that, for people our age, yes, we've lived through, we were maybe quite young during that, but that was an initial stage of bringing in a new age. And so if someone is in a despair of, oh my God, we're going backwards, well, perhaps we're going back to finish things that were started. And
Yeah,
and that's again the importance of us engaging through the specialized knowledge that our own Chiron journey brings to us. So we'll just
beautiful.
keep building on that idea.
I love it. Okay, so on October 8th, around 10 a.m. Pacific time, so you can adjust for your time zone, Chiron and Eris make their exact conjunction at 2516 Aries. And of course, we have Neptune still in Aries. On October 22nd, I think it goes back into Pisces. Saturn's already back at 27. So remember, we were talking about 27 Pisces. Saturn's
Right,
already
right,
from when it happened back in the 18, 1917, 1918. And then if we notice, it's like Chiron and Eris are fairly close square to Jupiter. That will be an even more exact square in a few days. We're going to see that in a moment. And then in addition to that, we have the asteroid Diana in square to this conjunction, pretty close exact square to the conjunction. And also, as you pointed out earlier, Jeffrey, hanging out at galactic center. So any
right.
insights you want to share about that?
What is it? So you comment a little bit about the asteroid Diana. I have not worked with it very much, so tell me, I
I
mean,
haven't either, but Diana she's the moon goddess, and she's
right,
also, you see that she's got the arrow. So she's directly pointing her arrow to activate and energize something that's happening in the greater collective reality. And, I feel like uh, the asteroids are like an additional bit of information, but of course, Eris is a dwarf planet. Chiron is sometimes considered an asteroid, sometimes considered a comet, sometimes considered uh, something else. I think there's three different things that it gets to be considered as.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Minor planet, or it's not actually. It doesn't rise to that level. Whereas Eris is in the running for that. To be a dwarf planet. It is a dwarf
In fact, it
planet.
was Eris that knocked Pluto out of its planetary status.
Right, right.
And
And
if we
there,
think about she's the goddess of discord and chaos, she created all this chaos around whether Pluto was, it got demoted from being a planet to being a dwarf planet. And then Eris was a dwarf, became a dwarf planet. So it was like it was equalizing the playing field, or at least that's the way I tend to
well,
look at it.
and it brought about a new order. It brought about a deeper understanding and a new order out of that. At first, it was like, oh my God, Pluto's not a planet, and it's like, well, yeah, but it has this other category. And we can look at it hierarchically like it got demoted, but actually it's refining the the structure. It's refining our understanding of how these things are working in a astrophysical sense.
Yeah.
And from an astrological point of view, that can prompt us to start to examine how do the frequencies that they're representing, how are those operating in the archetypes that are operating within us. And
Yes.
the thing I would say about Diana, the little bit that I know, she was the huntress. I
Yeah.
mean, and so the aspect of the lunar energies that was about really engaging in nature and the rhythms of nature. And there's probably more to it than that. I feel that there's a real kind of mystery to Diana as a that I haven't studied enough, but I just think about that. The
Yeah.
moon and the huntress as she's more than that, I think, but I think she also understood herbs, and she was one of the teachers of Chiron, if I'm not mistaken. Wasn't it Apollo and Diana that were the adoptive parents of Chiron?
It could be that I don't remember that as part of the story, but that I just don't remember. That's all.
Yeah, well, I didn't. I mean, I could be right, and I may be wrong, but I do know that it was Sun and Moon goddess, or God goddess that were the adoptive parents, because Chiron, for those who don't know the story, Chiron was orphaned because you know Kronos left and went back to his realm, and the mother, the sea nymph, didn't know what to do with him and changed herself into a tree, changed herself into a linden tree. And so he didn't have parents, but the sun and the moon, the god and goddess of the sun and the moon, adopted him. And I believe in the original Greek story, it was Diana.
Yeah.
And
Diana
she
or
taught him
Artemis.
about,
Artemis and Diana are the same. So Greek is Artemis, I think, and Diana is Roman,
oh,
perhaps.
okay, okay. Yes, you're right. Yeah. You're right.
But similar. It's like they just changed the names and kept the stories.
Right.
So
Right. Okay. So the
it's just
significance
something
of
else
that,
that
that it's
I'm
that it's
noticing.
aligned with the galactic center, that asteroid, which is about kind of suggesting that we come back to uh, our instincts and our relation to nature, our direct active relationship with nature, if you will. That might be what Diana is symbolizing, and channeling galactic center uh, uh, vibrations, and trying this aspect that we're discussing most, the Chiron Eris conjunction. So,
If you think about galactic center, it's where they've noticed that it's like a black hole pulling energy and photon light energy and stuff into it, but it's also expelling it at a very high rate. And then there's a whole thing around the galactic superwave and how there's this energy that comes out of the galactic center every so often, and that it basically just changes the whole energy of the galaxy. So, so it's like,
right,
okay, what's
right,
going on? And then the other thing I'm noticing is that it's like in the story of Eris, she puts the golden apple on the table. That is the one that says, and it says for the fairest one because she wasn't invited to the party. And we shared more deeply about this story in the previous uh, videos that we've done. But it's like Chiron's got the apple and she's got the ball of light. And so they're working together to create beauty out of chaos. And I just find that to be this just to be a fascinating image
It is such a
for.
beautiful image. Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's a lot in that. And kind of going back to the chart for a moment, the square to Jupiter. I don't know how much we said about that, but
Oh yeah, right. We didn't say much.
in broad, in broad brushstrokes, this is about a challenging in kind of the mundane level. It's challenging a governing philosophy because that's Jupiter. It's what is law? What is our guiding light for governing ourselves? I mean, and in our democracies, it's ourselves as opposed to where a lot of other governments are going and in investing all the power in a few individuals or one. But in Cancer, it's about the whole family. It's Jupiter in Cancer, who are our whole human family, in my view, and the non-human as well. But when they're squaring it, it's saying that we need to be breaking down Eris, some of these energies, and the Chiron energy is coming in to help us find our path through that. But it's informing. The squares are trying to go in different directions, but when they start to work together is when real power and change is generated. And so it's suggesting to us that out of this process of chaos and the healing aspects, actually, I'm going to take just a moment right now to describe the with Chiron again, for many people know this, but the notion of it being situated between and actually touching the orbits of both Uranus and Saturn. Saturn, in this case, I'm going to just narrow it down to the idea of an established order, what is manifest and what we have to create our in our manifest world, and Uranus being the full, representing that full freedom beyond limitations and beyond that process. But it's a process of manifesting from where our higher selves or higher energy comes from, and where does it fit into this world of established order. And Chiron is the bridge between it, the frequency that allows us to bring that in. So if you're not finding your own individual expression being allowed in an established order, of which there, I mean, maybe lots of human beings, so it's an ongoing process. So it's not even about creating an us and a them here, but it's an ongoing process about how do you bring more of who you are at your energetic core into the accepted order of these lives we establish, the society that we establish, and that it's that energy which, the more we bring that in, it brings the medicine that helps to change the established order and allow for that space for that individuality to be expressed still within bounds where we can all exist together. And that is essential to understanding how Chiron can work with Eris. And I don't know if we're, but I might as well finish that because that's where I was going, is that whole idea that as things are being broken down, this chaotic energy, as things being broken down, where can we bring the our medicine, our individual medicine in working those two bounds from this uh, um, limitless freedom of our individual light into the established form. Where are we bringing our medicine in order to create frequencies that will allow whatever the new world is, that they're being brought into what we see as chaos? And
And that we embody those new frequencies so that they get established, as you were saying, because Saturn and Uranus, Chiron sits between Saturn and Uranus, but literally it's also sitting between Saturn and Uranus by sign. Saturn being in Pisces, Uranus being in Gemini, and Chiron being in Aries, sitting in the middle of all that. And if we think of Chiron as a shamanic healer, helping to heal those wounds and the chaos and whatever that's been and is seemingly amplifying at this time on the planet, but it's like timely. It's so timely for this to be happening that if we can just trust the process, even if it makes no sense, because it's not going to make any sense
Right.
logically, reasonably, it's like, couldn't we do this in a better way? But no, this is the way that it's happening, and we need to trust the process. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
But that's why we're emphasizing it is that if you can understand that the chaos is part of the process and but continue to focus on the work that we do. We say this, time and time and time again, but we're trying to give more grounding into why it really works and why it's okay, you know?
yeah.
It's
So a few days later, 10 days later ish, October 17th, 18th, the sun, you can see the sun here at 25, 35 Libra is opposite uh, Eris and Chiron. Chiron has now moved back to 2449, but almost 25, and Eris is just at 25. Uh, and so the that opposition, like a full moon effect, like this, illuminating this conjunction in a powerful way that it's happening right after the exact conjunction within less than 2 weeks. And then Jupiter now at 24 Cancer in square to Chiron at 24 Aries and very closely square Eris, and they'll be an exact square within hours or days of this time of the sun opposite Chiron and Eris. So this is just another aspect that is lighting up what we've everything we've already talked about and what terms this means, how is this unfolding, and the thought that comes to my mind as I'm speaking into this, and I know you'll have something else to say about it too, Jeffrey, is that it's happening for us, not to us.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
that's what we need to keep in mind because things could even appear to be more chaotic around this time than and not that it hasn't been like absolutely chaotic up until this time, but yeah, that's the thought. I just like we just need to remember and trust the process and trust that it's happening for us.
Yes. For us, not to us. It's suggesting that the universe is not suggesting. The universe is showing us that these tensions, out of these tension energies, these transformative processes being activated, can when we can find that within ourselves. Uh, so we already spoke to the idea that, well, Jupiter kind of represents a governing philosophy, among other things, and law. And so there could be a lot of, kinds of chaos around that. But if we look at that thing as a whole, that T square as a whole, it's also um, telling us to if we personalize it, not just look outwardly as what's going on, but if we personalize it, well, uh, and this is what we're going to do in the meditation, but where are we finding the, chaotic frequencies and where are we finding the medicine? But it's our awareness and how that's showing up, Sun in Libra, awareness of how that's showing up in our relationships and co-equal social activities and bringing that forward into the activities of are we able to form a new governing philosophy around the idea that we're all one in our family? So when these tensions may arrive from you personally, even if, or especially if I should say, especially if you have anything around these degrees, and the Capricorn counterpoint to that. But if we can um, embrace that this is something that is happening for us because it's the opportunity to really evolve and progress, then that might help us to shift and make it perhaps a little bit easier if there are tensions, because who knows, if you have a great intention to begin with, maybe it's all really just dynamic and just unfolds in an awesome way. So that's maybe part of the purpose of this is like get ready, but let's start setting intentions. Let's start moving the work in that way, you know?
And just be aware that when we set intentions, anything in the way of that intention will come up to get cleared.
Yeah,
And so I've done a lot of ceremonial work in my day, and there's been times I've set intentions and I'm like, this doesn't look anything like the intention I set, but it was all the things that were in the way of the intention needing to be cleared out of the way. So we just keep that in mind and trust the process, trust that the universe has our back and is taking us where we are. Intent, it's like what's the highest fulfillment of our soul's expression, I guess is another way to say that. So this is a magical time. This is an amazing magical time,
absolutely. Yeah,
regardless of what seems to be going on in the outer reality. Yeah.
right.
So with so this is all affecting the USA chart as well, and we've talked about this in the past as well. And we've also shared about the progressed USA chart. And so what you're seeing on the inner wheel is the USA chart, and on the outer wheel is the transits today, which is we're recording this on September 10th. And and something that's really remarkable is that in 1905, on November 14th, Jupiter stationed retrograde by progression and has been retrograde by progression for 120 years. On July 22nd, the Magdalene feast day, by the way, and the days the sun enters Leo, Jupiter stationed direct by progression at 15 Cancer, which is very much in alignment with the star Sirius, and that's where the Jupiter Sun Venus conjunction happened in early August of this year. Spectacular. Hopefully, people got to see that. It was just amazing.
Absolutely gorgeous. Yeah.
So good. And then the progressed north node at 25 Cancer right now as we speak. And that, of course, is in square to where Uranus, I mean, not Uranus, Chiron and Eris are conjunct at 25 Aries. It's like in an exact square to them. And so that's like off the charts amazing. And then and we can see the moon here in Aries, the progressed moon in Aries. In 6 months, it's going to catch up to progressed Chiron of the USA chart, and progressed and the natal Chiron of the USA chart in 8 months. And so this energy is going to continue to be activated and illuminated and energized for the USA. Um, and ideally, it's helping us get to the place of the intentions that were set for the USA when it became a country that have never been lived up to, that there's been just so much in the way of those intentions. So this may be like the massive clearing of
Right.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. The reset, or if you will, the spiral up, because we didn't spend a lot of time on the earlier conjunctions and the other things that go on. But obviously in 1917 and 18, really powerful worldwide changes and some of the first attempts to actually create a what eventually became the United Nations, and to try to resolve the conflicts and the pettiness of how nations were operating, et cetera, et cetera. But each one of these is a spiral up. But as you said, Cayelin, this is highly activating the promise of the United States, the intentions here on Turtle Island, because I look at it even more broadly. But in terms of the United States chart, there's the United States, for those of us who, I mean, just to remind that everything that existed here on Turtle Island was infused into what became the United States. It didn't all get imported from Europe. In fact, there's an interesting cycle of some of the governing philosophy that was picked up here in the early 1600s, brought to Europe, got enfolded in that and brought back again. So it's you know here in these lands and how it's affect all of the world because the United States is the biggest kid on the block these days and may not be for a while. I mean, may not be, but it is where we're at. So these things, it's a lot of data to consume there, what Cayelin, what you were just sharing, but to note that the Jupiter energies are being highly activated, the direction that we need to be going, highly activated, all in Cancer, and that alignment with the with Sirius and the Sun, the of the United States chart itself, and the progressions having to do with that deep undercurrent of movement of how the gives us another look at how the United States is going to change and literally progress. And so, yeah, this is
Oh.
it's really powerful, off the charts powerful stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, and so timely. So if we think about Eris and Chiron as it's relating to the USA chart and to the world, and because this Chiron Eris conjunction is exactly square the USA Mercury at 24 Cancer, there's that's being amplified and activated at this time. So we could ask ourselves, how are Eris and Chiron working together and helping to heal the cultural wounding, including power over, control, manipulation that has been perpetrated on the world from the US and also other countries and other places that have been doing that to the people. Because if we think about the intent of the US, it was about we the people,
Right. It
and
was
that we
supposed
that we all have the right to pursue happiness and be free and all of that. And then, that's just not, it's been distorted. So it's like, how are we going to heal those distortions and that chaos that has been the result of those distortions? So what would it take to have a massive paradigm shift in consciousness, restoring cosmic justice and the common good for all life? These are the questions, and I think this is the intent of what is happening with Chiron and Eris together. And then how can we responsibly engage in healthy action and courageously commit? That's very Aries, by the way, to courageously commit
to. Hmm.
to doing the inner alchemical healing work needed now to shift our personal vibration and the vibration of the USA and the planet, not just the United States, but the whole entire planet. And if we think about the fierce warrior nature of Aries is about protecting and standing for the sacred, we could imagine that's the sacredness of life, the sacredness of the earth, the sacredness of the sky, and the sacredness found in acts of forgiveness, kindness, and love. So with that, I think Jeffrey's taking us on a little journey.
Yeah, yeah, that's so powerful, all those words, and it does lead us kind of directly into this. And so um for the intent of or for the purpose of this particular recording, I'm going to abbreviate it a little bit because if I were to go into, the much deeper levels, it would take longer. So I'm really just trying to offer this as a template and hope that if this resonates with you or you find you want to visit it again, to take even more time to deepen into yourself. So right now, I'm just going to invite everybody to deepen more into your body and start to really get more a sensory connection to your body and take a few deep breaths and feel it connected, allowing a grounding cord to descend it down deep into the earth and inviting earth energy back up into your physical body. And then if you will, just begin to let your awareness understand that your body is the earth is your body, and that our consciousness is residing in complete, is residing not just within, but with. Our consciousness and deep interaction with the earth is where we are existing. As you take in more deep breaths, find yourself down, bringing more of your own soul light and awareness and consciousness to the level of the heart, and sending away any energies that are extraneous to your purpose right now. And breathing in, sending away tensions or stray thoughts, and inviting more of your own energy into presence. And now we're going to engage with, where does Eris energy, where does the chaotic energy exist within ourselves? And oftentimes, this energy in particular, Eris energy, because as the Greeks explained to us, and we can certainly be updating these, but some of them are kind of timeless. Sometimes Eris energy was an energy of wanting complete annihilation. And other times, Eris energy, creating chaos, was about taking down old structures that were no longer serving or were holding back the creative and evolutionary process. But sometimes, in they aren't mutually exclusive, but sometimes the energy expresses within us as human beings as wanting annihilation of the other. Sometimes it comes out as being against the other. And what we want to do is to note for a moment, does that exist within ourselves? Is there some part of us that is feeling the tension of either the chaos outside ourselves or the chaos within ourselves? Where is chaos arising because we want to annihilate something in our own experience, or at least to tear it down? Can we begin to nudge to the place where something that is existing that we need to recycle, that we need to repurpose? But allow yourself to experience that so you know where Eris energy is existing within you. And likewise, there's a response to the chaos that is happening outside ourselves. Because where there's resonance outside ourselves, or rather, where chaos is happening outside ourselves, there's going to be a resonance within us. Again, these are some deep things, but begin to feel it. Feel it in your own state, in your own consciousness, in maybe inviting it up from the unconscious. Because Eris and chaotic energies, they exist almost beyond our known consciousness at times. So where is it coming in? And feeling that, and knowing that, and perhaps taking some ownership of where we're feeling it, both the response to what's being broken down outside ourselves, repurposed, recycled. It's going into these multiple frequencies of energy so that something anew can be born from it. From chaos, a new world can be born. And so where you find that within yourself, now also access your own Chiron energy, your own Chiron frequency. That piece of ourselves, which is the magic or the medicine that you are developing as an individual to help to create more space for who you are and helping to heal others or heal, bringing healing energy to the greater whole. Chiron in his or her journey was about healing their own wounds, but bringing healing to others in the process and developing something new, about evolving. That's the intent of Chiron, is to be able to evolve what exists to be an even broader and more whole being, creative being. So where in your frequency of your own medicine can you bring that to apply to where the chaos might exist within you, or the desire for chaos, or the desire to break things down, or where they're already broken down? And know that by taking this journey together with these two energies, your own journey with your own medicine and your own Chiron energy, when you focus on that and you navigate all the myriad waves of this ocean of possibility that Eris is creating, and as you mark your way through it, and you create a wake and ripples, that you are now helping to fertilize and inoculate, if you will, the chaos that is being generated with your own frequencies, the medicine that you as an individual, you as the universe has deemed you to be. You know, as I'm remembering the Desiderata, you are a part of the universe and you have a right to be here. And the path that you are forging, and it's much like an image that has been circulating of late, a little tiny moon, only 8 kilometers across, that exists embedded in the rings of Saturn. But because it's so tiny, and yet as it moves through all of those beautiful rings, it sends out ripples, gorgeous, beautiful ripples, and it's kind of miraculous. And so when we can feel into all of these kinds of things that I am suggesting within ourselves, and can find some ease and some knowledge of knowing that if we continue on our path for our own healing, but for the ultimate purposes of healing and evolving the whole for others, and bringing that energy from the place of our own core existence as expressions of the universe, expressions of the great mystery, creating ripples in the chaos that is existing and within ourselves and without, that from this a new world will be born. Let's take a few deep breaths and just come back to our shared space here. And hopefully you can find your way forward with that. If nothing else, then the encouragement to know that as I, meaning you, as we work on our wounding and develop our medicine, we're really helping the chaos to begin to find some coalescence. Yeah, I could say more about chaos and some interesting things, but perhaps that will be in another video.
This was
So,
so good.
yeah,
I think what you shared, and hopefully this is inspiring people to feel it in a more embodied way as a result of this little journey, and tuning into our own challenges and recognizing that the chaos we see outside of us is also within us. And then as we heal the chaos within us, we're going to heal the chaos outside of us. So good.
Yeah.
Um, and so, so this is why we're so excited about what's happening with Chiron and Eris, and then Jeffrey, you can share. We're going to wrap it up with this quote from William Blake on the auguries of innocence,
Right.
and maybe in a sense, we're coming back to a new state of innocence, having been wherever it is that we've been, and we return to a new place of innocence. So, take it away.
Yeah, so this appeared along with that image of the of how that moon, and I apologize that I'm not remembering the name of that particular moon. I should have known that, but just know that it exists there of Saturn's many moons. Tiny little moon creating these ripples. And this is there's more to this William Blake poem, but to see the world in a grain of sand and a heaven in a wildflower. Hold infinity in the palm of your hand and eternity in an hour. I just thought it was a beautiful way to wrap up our talk today.
Agreed. And I will put a link to the rest of the poem because there's some really wild and crazy. I did not realize there was so much more to the poem
Yeah.
until just recently. So I'll put a link in that in the show notes and also a link to the other videos we have done on this topic that you can go back and visit and the whole story of Eris and how she's the uninvited guest and how are there parts of ourselves we're not inviting or we're not paying attention to or we're trying to dismiss or all of these pieces that are such a great opportunity for us right now. So um, with that, I think we're complete, unless you have anything else you want to say before we wrap
I
up.
no, I think this is complete. There's a lot many other things to share, and but this is I like where we're at. This is good.
Well,
I
and we'll
hope
be
it's
back
helpful
with
to
the
folks.
for the last conjunction. We'll do another video before the last conjunction. So
Yeah.
stay tuned.
Blessings, everyone.
Bye.
Bye bye.